Turn around. You're being detained.
Detained for what? Loading my car or knowing my constitutional rights?
A metallic click echoed sharply in the warm afternoon air at 3:47 p.m., loud enough to make several heads turn across the quiet parking lot. Officer Daniel Morrison's body camera captured his gloved hands closing around a pair of steel handcuffs, the late summer sun reflecting off the polished metal as they snapped shut around Dr. Vanessa Cole's wrists. "What are you doing?" Vanessa's voice was steady, controlled, but edged with disbelief. "Officer, I am not resisting you." Morrison didn't respond. His body camera, a department-issued BWC 300 unit, showed only his forearms and the front of Vanessa's charcoal gray blazer as he stepped closer. From the side angle, Officer Tyler Brennan's camera recorded her shoulders stiffening as the cuffs tightened. Overhead, the parking lot's mounted security camera, Camera 3 of the Riverview Federal Courthouse Annex, captured the entire scene in a wide, silent frame. A black woman standing beside a silver Lexus SUV, shopping bags on the asphalt, two uniformed officers closing in. At 3:47 and 18 seconds p.m., Morrison finally spoke. "You're being detained for obstruction." "Obstruction of what?" Vanessa asked, her jaw clenched, eyes forward. "I've asked you repeatedly what crime you suspect me of. You have not answered." The temperature read 91 degrees Fahrenheit on Morrison's dashboard display, heat shimmering off the pavement. The air smelled faintly of hot rubber and cut grass from the nearby municipal lawn. A passerby slowed, phone already raised, while another voice off camera whispered, "Is this really happening?" 3 months later, in a packed federal courtroom, a clerk would read a verdict that cost the city exactly $675,000. But on Wednesday, March 15, 2024, at 3:47 p.m., none of that was visible yet, only the moment where everything went wrong. Before we continue, where are you watching from today? If this is your first time here, please subscribe. Stories like these need to be heard, and your support helps us share truth, accountability, and education. What you're about to hear isn't just about one arrest. It's about how constitutional rights function in real life, how body cameras reveal truth, and how the legal system responds when power is abused. Dr. Vanessa Cole was not a public figure in the way television imagines them. At 52 years old, she lived quietly in Riverview Heights, a mid-sized city along the Ohio River. She had served for 11 years as a federal administrative judge, appointed after nearly 2 decades as a constitutional law professor and appellate attorney. Her credentials, a JD from Howard University School of Law, a master's in public policy from Georgetown, were impeccable. She had never been arrested, never even received a parking ticket. That afternoon, she had driven herself to the Riverview Federal Courthouse Annex at 1247 Elm Street to drop off archived case files and load several boxes into her car for an upcoming academic lecture. The courthouse annex closed early that Wednesday, and by 3:30 p.m. the parking lot was mostly empty. The sky was clear, the sun high, and a light breeze carried the distant hum of traffic from Main Street. According to later court documents, the incident began with an anonymous call logged at 3:34 p.m. under case reference RC 2024-1187. The caller reported a suspicious woman loading boxes into a vehicle near the federal building. No crime was alleged. No description of illegal activity was provided. Officer Daniel Morrison, badge number 4729, a 7-year veteran of the Riverview Police Department, responded along with Officer Tyler Brennan, badge number 8843, a 3-year officer still considered early in his career. Morrison had accumulated 5 civilian complaints over his tenure. None sustained, all closed as unfounded or not enough evidence. Supervisors described him as assertive and proactive. At 3:41 p.m., Morrison's body camera activated as his patrol car rolled into the lot. The footage showed Vanessa lifting a cardboard box labeled Archives from the trunk of a county vehicle into her own SUV. Her judicial ID badge hung visibly from a lanyard around her neck, reflecting sunlight with each movement. "Ma'am," Morrison called out at 3:42 and 11 seconds p.m., his voice firm. Step away from the vehicle. Vanessa turned, surprised but composed. Brennan's camera from the side angle recorded her expression shifting from confusion to professional courtesy. "Good afternoon, officers," she said. "Is there something I can help you with?" Morrison approached, boots crunching on gravel. "I need to see your ID." "For what reason?" Vanessa asked calmly. "Am I being detained?" The overhead CCTV camera showed Morrison stopping less than 3 feet from her, hands resting near his duty belt. "We received a call. You're acting suspicious." "Suspicion alone is not a crime," Vanessa replied evenly at 3:43 p.m. "Under the Fourth Amendment, you need reasonable suspicion based on specific articulable facts." "What crime do you believe I'm committing?" Brennan's camera caught Morrison's jaw tightening. The radio on his shoulder crackled with static. The sunlight cast harsh shadows across the asphalt, emphasizing the distance and the tension between them. "Ma'am," Morrison said, "this doesn't have to be difficult." "I agree," Vanessa responded. "I'm happy to cooperate with lawful requests. I do not consent to searches, and I do not provide ID absent reasonable suspicion or probable cause. Am I free to go?" At 3:44 p.m., Morrison glanced briefly toward Brennan. The side camera recorded Brennan shifting his weight, uncertainty flickering across his face. From the wide CCTV angle, 2 courthouse maintenance workers could be seen pausing mid-step, watching. "No," Morrison said. "You're being detained." "For what specific offense?" Vanessa asked, her voice unwavering. Morrison stepped closer. His body camera recorded his own hands rising, fingers flexing. "Turn around." "That is not a lawful order," Vanessa said. "Officer, I am a federal judge. My credentials are visible. I am loading my personal vehicle. I have committed no crime." At 3:46 p.m., the tension snapped. Morrison reached out, gripping Vanessa's left arm. The cold pressure of his hand sent a visible jolt through her posture. Brennan's camera captured her sharp intake of breath. The overhead camera showed a bystander stepping forward before stopping, uncertain. "Do not touch me," Vanessa said firmly. "I am not resisting. This is unlawful." "Stop resisting," Morrison replied automatically, despite the footage later showing no resistance. The sound of handcuffs followed seconds later, the moment the story began. The metallic echo of the handcuffs lingered long after Morrison guided Vanessa toward the patrol car. At 3:49 p.m., Brennan's body camera recorded the rear door of Unit 218 swinging open, heat trapped inside the black interior. The thermometer on the dashboard read 93 degrees Fahrenheit. Vanessa lowered herself carefully into the back seat, the vinyl sticking slightly to her palms as she adjusted her posture. "I want to be very clear," she said at 3:49 and 27 seconds p.m., voice calm but resolute. "I am not resisting. I am invoking my right to remain silent, and I want to speak to my attorney." Morrison didn't answer. His camera showed only the blur of his uniform as he shut the door. From the dash-mounted camera, Vanessa could be seen sitting upright, eyes forward, breathing slow and controlled. Outside, the courthouse security camera captured several onlookers now openly filming with their phones. As the patrol car pulled away at 3:52 p.m., radio chatter crackled through Morrison's microphone. "Transporting one adult female, obstruction," he reported. No mention of a suspected underlying crime. No explanation of probable cause. Inside the car, the air conditioning sputtered weakly. Sweat beaded at Vanessa's temples, but her posture never collapsed. At 3:55 p.m., she spoke again, her voice steady despite the circumstances. "For the record, this detention violates the Fourth Amendment. Terry versus Ohio requires reasonable suspicion. You have articulated none." Brennan's camera, still running, captured Morrison exhaling sharply through his nose. At the Riverview Police Department booking entrance, time-stamped 4:06 p.m., fluorescent lights washed the hallway in sterile white. The echo of footsteps bounced off tile floors. Vanessa was led past a desk sergeant who glanced up briefly, eyebrows lifting as he noticed her credentials still hanging from her neck. "Judge," he murmured, barely audible on Brennan's audio feed. Morrison ignored him. The booking process unfolded mechanically. At 4:12 p.m., fingerprints were taken. At 4:18 p.m., a mugshot. Vanessa standing straight-backed, eyes level with the camera, expression composed. Property was inventoried. Phone, keys, wallet, academic papers. The cold metal bench in the holding area pressed against her back as she sat, hands still cuffed in front. 2 hours later, at 6:21 p.m., she was released on her own recognizance. No charges had been formally filed yet. An unusual delay noted later by internal reviewers. As she stepped outside into the cooling evening air, temperature now 72 degrees Fahrenheit, her phone vibrated with missed calls. One name stood out immediately, Marcus Ellison. Ellison, a civil rights attorney with 22 years of experience and a senior litigator with the Ohio Justice Collaborative, answered on the first ring when she called back. "Vanessa," he said, voice tight, "I just saw the footage circulating." 3 weeks later, at 9:02 a.m. on Monday, April 8, 2024, Ellison sat in a conference room reviewing evidence frame by frame. Morrison's body camera. Brennan's side-angle footage. The Riverview Federal Courthouse annexes 4-camera Hikvision CCTV system. A bystander's cell phone video captured from across Elm Street. "All angles tell the same story," Ellison said quietly, according to notes later entered into the record. "No crime. No suspicion. No justification." At 10:15 a.m. that same morning, the Riverview City Prosecutor's Office formally declined to file charges. In their written notice, they cited insufficient evidence of criminal conduct. 2 days later, Ellison filed a federal civil rights lawsuit under 42 U.S.C. Section 1983. Case number CV 2024-003847. The complaint alleged unlawful detention, false arrest, and retaliation in violation of the 4th and 14th Amendments, along with a Monell claim against the city for failure to train and supervise. Discovery was brutal. During Morrison's deposition at 1:34 p.m. on May 22, 2024, he was shown his own body camera footage. The timestamp, 3:43 p.m., glowed in the corner of the screen. "Officer Morrison," Ellison asked evenly, "what specific crime did Dr. Cole commit at this moment?" Morrison shifted in his chair. "She was uncooperative." "That is not a crime," Ellison replied. "Try again." Silence stretched for nearly 8 seconds, an eternity in a deposition room. By June, a whistleblower officer submitted an internal memo confirming Morrison had made at least 12 similar, suspicious person stops over the previous 18 months, none resulting in charges. The trial began on a cold Monday morning, October 7, 2024, in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Ohio. The courtroom was packed. At 9:17 a.m., Judge Eleanor Whitman took the bench. Jurors leaned forward as screens flickered to life. At 10:42 a.m., body camera footage played in open court. The metallic click of handcuffs echoed through the speakers. Several jurors visibly flinched. When Vanessa testified at 2:06 p.m., her voice did not shake. "I have taught constitutional law for decades," she said. "I never imagined I would have to assert those rights from the back of a patrol car." Expert witnesses followed, including Dr. Harold Nguyen, a policing standards professor from the University of Michigan, who testified at 11:18 a.m. the next day. "This was not a Terry stop," he explained. "There was no reasonable suspicion, no escalation threshold met." The defense argued qualified immunity. The jury rejected it. Deliberations lasted 6 hours. At 4:51 p.m. on Friday, October 18, 2024, the jury returned. The courtroom went silent. On the claim of unlawful detention, the foreperson said, "We find for the plaintiff compensatory damages, $425,000. Punitive damages, $250,000. Total, $675,000. Vanessa closed her eyes briefly as the numbers were read. In the months that followed, Officer Morrison was terminated. The Riverview Police Department announced mandatory constitutional policing training, revised ID demand policies, and expanded body camera audits. Vanessa declined public celebration. Instead, she launched the Cole Civil Liberties Fellowship, mentoring young lawyers committed to accountability and reform. By the following spring, the case was being used in police academies nationwide as a training example, not of heroism but of consequence. If you believe the Fourth Amendment means something, that standing up for your rights should never be treated as a crime, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Tomorrow, we bring you another story where truth, recorded and reviewed, reminds us of a simple principle. The law exists to restrain power, not excuse it.